Alright, this is where we ended up last time. We have from machine import pin, which imports a little library, and a piece of that library is called pin, and we specifically import that in order to work with it throughout our code. So this pin holds a bunch of functions that we can use and reuse. For example, this out or this value or toggle is all part of this library. Makes it easier to turn on and off some signals from pins, so you don't have to worry about that. We printed a little I'm alive. Let's specifically make this I am alive. I'm alive. So that our cute little Raspberry Pico basically tells us that it's alive once it's booting up. And then we declared what this LED variable should hold, and it holds the pin, so the reference to this library piece, the pin, and in detail it says, okay, this is an output pin, by the way. I will need to send electricity out of it. What we then did was we turned it on or off using this little value function. So if I turn it to on, the LED turns on. If I turn it to 0, it turns off. Note this function, we will use it a lot in order to know whether the problem is with our code or with the LED. Sometimes you don't know, and then it's very easy to just say, all right, LED pin value, try to do it again. Like try to turn it off or on with just this piece of code, and then you know, okay, it's working or it's not working. So that is your starter. Okay, we have this. Now I want it to turn on and off repeatedly. So what some of you might think is, okay, just make one that is off and just copy paste this a bunch. If I upload this, it is working, but what's happening is that you cannot see it blink. It just goes so fast through it. If I put a little print, I'm done, for example, over here, the time difference between the I'm alive and I'm done is so short, and it's run through all of these functions. It's going too fast. We cannot see the difference. It's thousands times a second it's turning on or off. We cannot notice. So what we will need to do is we will have to add some code. What kind of code? Code that basically tells it to take it easy, to sleep between two functions. And this sleep comes from a different library, from time, and the library is called time, import sleep. Sleep without a capital this time. It's not a class, it's just a function, that's why. And this sleep basically can be used to say, all right, I want you to sleep for an entire second. I want you to stop whatever you're doing, sleep for a second, and then do something else. So you've noticed it's printed the I'm alive, it's then waited a second, and then it ran through all of the rest. What I can do now is, if I copy paste this here, then you will see that it has turned on, it's waiting a second, and then it turns off. So what it's done, it's defined it as an output, it set it as 1, so it turned it on, it slept for a second, it ran through all of these in a very short time, and then it printed I'm done. But it ended up with a 0, so that means that it seemed to have blinked, right? So what I now have to do is I can say, okay, I want this to be 0.5, for example, half a second, and also put this right behind. And this means that I now have an LED that turns on and off. If I copy paste this a bunch of time, boop, 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 then I have a blinking LED. But it only does it 4 times, sorry. How many times? I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 4 times, and I don't want to be copying this over and over again. It's too useless. So what I want to do is I want to put this in a simple little loop. You've seen loops at development, so it's not a for loop, it's a while loop. And we've hijacked this while loop. We've basically said while 1 equals 1, for example. While true means you will always keep running that same loop over and over again. So it starts off here, and it runs to the end. When it's done here, it will check, is this still true? Yes, it is still true. So it will start over and over. If I'm doing this, you can see that the LED starts blinking, and it will keep on blinking. What won't happen is this, because it will never be able to get out of this while loop, right? And it will keep running with this, but this code will not be running at all. You also notice that I put this indent here. And I basically just used one tab for that. And I can select it and just tap it. Everything that is starting from this double point, this column, and then is indented will be part of this function. If I de-indent the last ones, then my code doesn't work anymore because it's running in this part and it will keep on doing this. So right now it's turning it on, it's waiting half a second, and then it's just turning it on again. So we don't know whether that's working or not. If I re-indent it, then I'm back to the blinking. So know that here, instead of these curly brackets, we use the indentation value in order to make this work, right? So make clear that it is part of the while. And the same will happen if I, for example, write if the starting variable, I can create this, starting equals true. If starting equals true, then I need to do this. So I can double indent as well, and this one will boot as well and do the exact same thing. Now if I put this at false, it won't do anything, but it will see here, oh, if starting is true, no, that's not true, it's false. Okay, then I don't do anything, and it's just printing I'm done. So it skipped over this entire piece, everything indented, and comes out here. If I now indent this, what's happening? Then I don't even get to see that I'm done, because the print is now a part of this if statement. It might seem a little counterintuitive to work with this indents, but you will get a hang of this quite fast. Just keep in mind that these indentations are necessary in order to denote what is part of your loop and what is not. Let's do this for a second. And that, this while loop can be used to just keep running over and over and over again. There's one last thing that just happened. I've written a mistake. But you can see here that it basically always comes and tells me what my mistake is. It tells me in line 11, you used tria, and I don't know what you mean by that. That means that this is probably a typo, and I can go back and I can correct it. All right? So this is a very simple way to write our first loop and our first output as well. Right? So last video was the output, and now we have written a little loop.